century play written by William Shakespeare, in which a merchant in Venice named Antonio fails to pay back a large loan provided by a Jewish moneylender Shylock. So today we will start Act 1, Scene 1. So this act begins when the scene opens. We find Antonio, who is really the merchant of Venice, in a sad mood. He is melancholic. He has two of his friends, Salanio and Salarino. They are trying to find the reason for Antonio's sadness. Antonio says that he is very sad, but he doesn't know the reason for his sadness. Why is he sad? Salarino and Salanio, both of them are trying to make Antonio realize that he is sad because of his business ventures, which is quite natural because Antonio is a very rich merchant. So it is natural that he will be worried about rich ventures. They are also saying that if they had been in his place, then they would have been equally sad. But what does Antonio say? Antonio says no. He negates the idea. Let us see what reasons he gives. He says, my business is not in one ship concentrated. Moreover, they are also not heading in one direction. Antonio's Argosses are rich merchant ships. They are scattered all over the ocean. Third reason is that he doesn't depend upon the profit of that year. That is why his business does not make him sad. Now, both of his friends Salarino and Salanio say that if he is not sad because of his ventures, then it could be because he is in love. And Antonio, being a middle-aged man, just ridicules the idea. He says, "Fie, fie." And then they suggest that if he is not in love, then he is sad because he is not married. Here, reference of Janus is also brought. This is an important extract where you are told about Janus. Janus is a Roman god. He has two faces, one face smiling and the other frowning, and they are normally kept at the doorways. One face looking outside and the other looking inside. So, what do they suggest? They suggest the contrariness in human nature. It means there are some people who may laugh at anything and everything, fickle minded people. On the other hand, there are some people who will not laugh even if the joke was very funny. So Antonio doesn't believe in it. He says nothing like that. At this moment, three of his friends come: Bassanio, Lorenzo, and Graciano. Bassanio. He is Antonio's best friend. Bassanio is a young man, whereas Antonio is a middle-aged man. Yet Antonio devotes his life for Bassanio. Bassanio is a young man. He comes from a good family, but he is extravagant in his ways. He is a spendthrift. He spends a lot of money to keep his style and all that. When his purse does not permit, then he borrows money from his friends. Antonio is the main person from whom Bassanio borrows money to fulfill his needs. sitting there with them, suddenly Graciano notices and something in Antonio and says that Antonio is not looking well. Today he is not looking well. Antonio pays because he pays too much attention to the worldly matters. So he does not look fine. He has changed a lot. Antonio says no. I don't give too much attention to the worldly affair. I give as much importance as it deserves. Then he tells world is a stage and all of us have been allotted with several roles. Yes, each one of us has a role and his is a sad one. He has been given a sad role. In this context, Gratiano speaks something funny. He says, in that case, I would like to play the role of a fool. Shakespeare's fools were supposed to be the wisest of the lot. They made people laugh with their witty talks. So, Gratiano would like to play the role of a fool and remain merry or happy till his wrinkles come. And wrinkles come when you are old. He says that he would not like to be his grandfather's stone statue sleeping in waking hours, and he does not want to catch jaundice by being ill tempered. And not only that, he tells Antonio that there are many people who deliberately put on an act of seriousness because they want to be thought as wise. But according to Gratiano, if these men were to be examined, you would find they are really fools. Then he also advises Antonio not to use his melancholy as a bait to catch cheap popularity. Means he wants to say that not to look serious, that people will think you wise. Antonio says, okay, after this advice, I will become a talker now. Now, after that, Graciano and Lorenzo leave. After this, Bassanio comments on Graciano's uh, whatever Graciano has said about Antonio. Graciano comments on that. He says that Graciano, after this, Bassanio comments on Graciano's speech on Antonio. He says that Graciano indulges in such idle talk. His speech is like 2 grains of wheat hidden in 2 bushels of worthless stuff. You may spend a whole day to find them, and when you find them not worth the search. Means they are not so valuable. Now, Antonio turns to his best friend Bassanio. He asks him about the lady. Now just say who is this lady? This lady is Portia. But Antonio doesn't know about this. Bassanio had only hinted in his previous meeting that he wanted to go to Belmont to meet this lady. Today, Antonio wants to know everything about Portia or about this matter, and it could be the reason for his sadness because he feels that there might be an impending separation. Bassanio might leave him to go to Belmont, and that possibly makes him sad. Means he has an intuition that both of the friends are going to be separated. Maybe this intuition had or unknown feeling has made him sad. So now he asks Bassanio, and he asks Bassanio about that lady or or the reason of his arrival. And Bassanio, instead of coming to the point, talks in a roundabout manner. Why? Because he wants a fresh loan from Antonio. So he brings those childhood incidents when he had lost an arrow and how he recovered it by risking another arrow. Why does he say this? He says that he has lost the money which he had borrowed from Antonio, but he feels that if Antonio gives him a fresh loan, then he can recover the lost money. If not the lost money, since he is vigilant, he will be at least able to return the present amount which he is borrowing. Antonio doesn't like this talking in a roundabout fashion. So he says, Bassanio, that like this you are doing me more injustice. If you would have wasted my money, I would not have felt like this. He says, you are doubting me. See, everything that I have, it is at your disposal, provided your means are honorable. So then Bassanio tells him that in Belmont is a beautiful lady called Portia. She is a rich heiress. Her father has left her with a lot of property and many suitors come in quest of her. So he compares her to a golden fleece. He also tells when her father was alive, Bassanio had once visited her, and he had sensed that Portia had some feeling for him, means feeling of love for him. He says that he received speechless messages through her eyes. He wants to go to Belmont and try his future there. So for this, he needs money because for going to Belmont, preparations should be made. Not only that, you have to appear in such a way that you can stand in the same platform with all the rich suitors and princes who come to win Portia. So he needs expensive gifts to give her. So for all these, he needs money. So he tells Antonio that he needs 3,000 ducats. Antonio explains Bassanio that at this moment he has invested all his money in his business. So he doesn't have that cash to give him. Still, he will not disappoint his friend. So he suggests to go to a money lender and see how much money they can get based on his credit. Actually, Antonio enjoyed a very nice reputation in Venice as an honest businessman. For this, people would be ready to give loan to Antonio, but not to Bassanio, is a spendthrift who would because Bassanio is a spendthrift who would risk by giving him money. So Antonio personally wants to be a guarantor that if Bassanio fails to pay back the money, then Antonio is there. He will pay the money. This is agreed and they plan to go to moneylender and get as much money as required by Bassanio. So here Act 1 Scene 1 ends. And my dear children, if you have any doubts, then you can call me. I will clear it. Any doubt on my speech, you can clear it. And after listening to this, try to solve the workbook question answer. All your doubts will be clear. Read the book thoroughly. Thank you.